In 10 minutes, the start of the German language series Prima, which follows Steve, a young Scotsman, as he attempts to find work in Germany. Prima begins at 2:35. Now, Sarah Kennedy presents the first of 8 programmes on self-defence.
So, what should you do now? Well, can I say right at the beginning, this isn't a self-defense series for the super fit who've already got a nifty line in karate chops. It's for normal people who might find themselves in abnormal situations, like being followed home or being mugged, or something happening to a child, or perhaps discovering a burglar in your house. Much of the advice that we're going to be giving you is common sense. It's being aware of your own surroundings, it's trusting your own judgment, your own instincts, knowing when to shout and when not to shout. Because, well, in the case of being followed home, there's no right way of dealing with the situation. All sorts of different tactics can work.
Gillian was followed late one night in a deserted street.
And then I suddenly came to a petrol station, and I saw a man in there filling up his car. And I thought to myself, oh, right, this is my only chance, because otherwise if I go up that road, I go to a common, and I'm not walking through the common with this man following me. So I rushed up to this man saying, John, hello, John, I haven't seen you in ages. And he was filling his car with his petrol pump like this and whooshed over his shoulder. It's horror. And I said, please, you've got to help me. I'm really scared. There's this man following me. And I just don't know what to do. Please, will you help me? And he looked at me in absolute amazement. But in actual fact, that gave me the time to sort of calm myself down. And he sort of smiled reassuringly and turned and said, well, I think he's gone now, hasn't he?
Wendy was followed on a deserted country road, so she went up to a complete stranger's house.
I went up to the door and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to say to these people, but I really was feeling a bit nervous. Anyway, I knocked on the door and no one came to the door. Anyway, I decided to go and stand round the back of the house, away from the road. And I thought, well, if he wasn't following me, then he would probably just walk straight on by, obviously. But I waited for a while and I couldn't hear him walking by. And after about 10 minutes or so, I crept round the side of the house and had a look for him, and I couldn't see him anywhere until I went down to the drive, and I did see him going back towards the village, down the bottom of the road, walking towards the village. So he obviously, well, I felt that my instincts were right. I do think he was following me.
Refusing to act like a victim can be a good tactic. Anne was threatened in a lonely park late at night.
Another chap approached from the right of him, and they both circled round me. I felt very, very frightened and thought about turning back and running, but I realised if I did this that they were only going to run after me and they would see how frightened I actually was. I thought it was silly to show how frightened I was, so I kept on walking. And they circled right round me, but I continued to walk, managed to get through them.
Isabel noticed a man walking behind her.
Just as I came near to my house, he suddenly came kind of round the side of me and grabbed me at the front. And I just moved my arm across to move his hands away. I couldn't bear him having his hands on me, and shouted really, really loud, which was loud because I saw the lights come on. And then he kind of backed off, and I thought he was going to go. And suddenly he just put his fists up as though he was going to fight me. And I thought, oh, God, I'm going to have to fight here. And I've never been in that sort of fight before. And I thought, there's nothing else I can do. I've got to fight. So I put my fists up too and went towards him. And he ran away.
With us throughout the series are our 2 self-defense experts, Judith Lowe and Mike Finn. Judith, can I start with you and ask you, how do you feel those women coped with that situation?
I thought they were very resourceful, very quick-witted, in fact very good examples of how self-defense doesn't necessarily have to be violent at all. It's really about taking care of yourself in the best way that you can at the time.
Mike, do you agree with what Judith was saying?
Yes, 2 of the most important aspects are to be alert and aware of your surroundings, know what's going on, and also to think ahead.
What advice would you give someone who was worried about being followed home?
I think that if someone's